I'd like to introduce you today to some newcomers to the Rabbitry. These are a new breed to me, Champagne d'Argents. I think I've spoken about them a little bit in some of the other videos and how I've been looking to bring these in as another breed and breeders for my Rabbitry for quite some time. So these rabbits came last week from BHA Rabbitry in New York. I've had my eye on her animals and her website and learned an awful lot from Alyssa on her website over the last couple of years. Again, I've had my eye on these rabbits for quite some time. Now, I'm not actually here to talk a lot about this breed today. I will do another video on that. I'll talk about the breed and why I was interested in them and why I want to bring them in. But today what I'm focusing on is bringing new rabbits home and the steps that you should take for a smooth and seamless transition, hopefully smooth and seamless transition when you bring new rabbits into your Rabbitry. And this doesn't matter if they're a new breed, the same breeds you've been keeping. It's anytime you're introducing new rabbits into your Rabbitry. So a few things I'm going to hit on here, you know, how to transport them, what to do with them when you get them home, and how to make this smooth and healthy for the rabbits. So first of all, we transported these in cat carriers. You might see a lot of people use like the 3-hole wire cage carriers that are frequently used for show rabbits and things like that. They work great. It's not something I'm invested in yet. I was already invested in cat carriers because we have other animals, so I cleaned those up. Took them out and they came home in them, you know, just something not too big, fairly secure. Line the bottom with some hay, a towel, something along those lines to prevent them from slipping and give them a little more comfort, maybe a little something to munch on. Our ride was about 3.5 hours for us. We did this in a day trip. I grabbed my sister and we went out. Is that a long way to travel for rabbits? Yes and no. You know, if that's what it takes to get quality stock in that you can build upon and rely upon, well, you know, a day trip to me was worth it. You know, it was a pretty nice day. Grabbed my sister. We caught up on all the family gossip, and yes, my family is huge, so it takes us 7 hours sometimes to catch up on all the gossip between the siblings and the parents and the nieces and nephews and grandchildren. But that's where we're at. So when I brought these home, Alyssa's recommendation was, because some of these were young, you know, these are all, this one's about 12 weeks. These are about 8, about 9 and 13 actually now, because they've been here for a week. The younger ones, she had recommended traveling together in a box, so that's what we did. The older one, because he is older and you know, potentially at an age where he might start fighting with some of these, he got his own carrier to ride in. So as far as transporting and what to group or not group, do they come solo? Do they come in pairs? I would follow, you know, your reputable breeder's lead on that. And again, hers was that the young ones go together, kind of reduce their stress. They all got along. They weren't at an age where they were going to fight, so that was fine. Her recommendation for the first few days was to keep the younger ones together, again, to just kind of help them, buddy system, overcome that stress. And again, with the older one, we did not do that because it would have created more issues than it was going to solve. So for the first few days, I did have the 3 young ones together, and now I've got them separated. The 2 does down here, this is a buck. These are all unrelated, so they will be breeding pairs. And now that they've been here a week and I can see everyone's doing well, they're acclimated, they're not stressed out. You can see they're hopping around, just being bunnies. These 2 will get separated again this weekend. Some of the bigger transitions that you want to look for when you're bringing animals home is, one, the health, obviously. You know, Alyssa did a great job and really spent a lot of time with us going through these rabbits. We posed them, we talked about conformation, checked the teeth, health of the rabbit, so they looked good. The feed, if you're making a feed transition, that's one of your bigger issues. I did need to make a feed transition for 2 reasons. One, she's feeding a different protein percentage than I'm feeding. and two, because what she's feeding, the brand of food, she had Nutrina, I feed Poulin, and I actually thought I could get the Nutrina locally, and when I went to my farm supply, I couldn't, which is okay. I didn't intend to stick with the Nutrina anyway. So she sends her rabbits, and a good breeder should, if possible, sends the rabbits with about a gallon bag for these four of feed. And what we did was, when I got home, I mixed into the top of it, starting on the second day. The first day I just gave them the straight feed they were used to, mixed some of my feed into that, and then fed it out. And then every day mix a little more feed until you're basically diluting that down, and it's a slow transition of feed over several days. I have decided just for now to keep these four on a 16% pellet. That's kind of just my choice, instead of the 18 that I'm feeding the rest of the Rabbitry. One of the reasons being that she's made a point of selecting these animals to be thrifty, easy keepers, and the 16% is cheaper. But she had also seen in some of her rabbits that sometimes the 18% might be a little bit too much for them. So that's a transition I'm going to explore, you know, maybe in the coming weeks. I bought one 50-pound bag of 16% that I've kept separate just for these guys, keeping everything else on the 18 because my past experience has been that for the difference in price and performance, the 18 was good. So when I do transition these over, or attempt to, that's something I'll be looking at and see how they perform, make sure that they don't get diarrhea, things like that. You know, the poop pellets is something that I've been keeping an eye on all week, and you know, we're looking good. We've got well-formed poop, not diarrhea. That's what we're looking for, that they're eating. She feeds hay, and I did feed hay. I actually fed hay and a little bit less pellets in those first few days, because if anything's going to keep their gut healthy, it's the hay. And while the hay may not be enough of a maintenance for growth in long term, for a day or two while they're adjusting and getting used to being here and under that kind of stress, it's something pretty reliable on that they should not get like a stasis or a blow or a diarrhea on. So that was that on the feed. Other things that you can do, you know, you always have VetRx around. This is something when rabbits are traveling, going to shows, being transported, brought into the Rabbitry. It gives them a little bit of immune boost, helps, you know, if their respiratory system is a little depressed from the stress of it. It's a good boost. I didn't add this because they were doing well, and I thought there was no real reason to kind of add more into the diet that might be out of the ordinary, but that is something that VetRx recommends. Lots of show breeders and transporters recommend, so not a bad idea too. Other than that, the big thing when I bring rabbits home is I keep them at least somewhat separated from the rest of the Rabbitry. Now, ideally, this would be in another room completely. Currently, I don't really have the room for that. So I've made them their bank of their 4 cages, and for the first 30 days, they will be here. They will not be somewhere where they can touch the other rabbits. Apologies, we're a little messy in here. I haven't swept this morning or fed yet, but that's where we're at. You know, keep them a little away. I've got plenty of ventilation in here because, you know, we're into May and the weather's nice. The windows are out, so airflow, air circulation's good. In the winter, I might make even more of a point of having them in their own room because they're just swapping and sharing too much air, and anything airborne could travel that way. But again, we had, you know, I bought from a reputable buyer, which is not always a guarantee because things happen with livestock, but I felt good about their health. So I felt good about having them separate but in the same room. So, you know, quarantining is always a great idea for the first 30 days. Things like ear mites, you can't always see them in an initial inspection, because if it's a new ear mite infestation or a parasite like that, you may just not see that. So, but those are also the things that are more likely to be contracted by contact. So again, that's a reason for separation. most of the things, and I will not say all, but most of the things that the rabbits are going to share are things that are going to be shared by contact. Either the animals are touching and contacting each other, or through breeding, or picked up in a cage that an infected animal was in, and then you put another animal in. So, you know, that's a step to take. First 30 days. After about 30 days, you should have seen anything crop up if it was going to crop up. Now, I'll also say this is mostly because you're bringing an unknown into your rabbitry. So, you know, it's giving time for issues to come out and present themselves if they're there. But also worth considering that rabbits that you already have might potentially be holding on to something that is, your new rabbits could contract. So, you know, ideally that's not going to happen, because ideally you're not going to invest and bring in new rabbits if you're having an issue in your rabbitry. But it is something to consider. So for everyone's mutual benefit, you know, keep them separated for that 30 days. Keep an eye on things. Are they eating? Are they drinking? Is their manure looking healthy and normal? Are you seeing any signs of diarrhea, any mites, any parasites, any fur mites, fleas, anything like that? Something so that you can treat it and get a handle on it before it explodes. Having said that, we're a week into it. I'm feeling good. I will continue to keep them separated here for the next 3 weeks. They're too young to breed right now anyway, so it's not as if I need to mix them into the population to breed them. So, you know, we've got time. You might have noticed that I am in some transition in the rabbitry. You'd have to have watched other old videos and pictures to have noticed this, but we did do a little bit revamping. I've decided that we are committed to this being the rabbit room, and so we took out an old, what used to be an old calf stall at the end, which really just made my life a lot easier, being able to open up and access those doe cages back there. I've got some here in a temporary cage. This is not going to be a permanent setup. I don't like having to clean and shovel out from under cages. This is just because what I'm doing is spring cleaning the cages, taking out the old ones. You can see out here that cages are out there. They've been power washed. Got some rust going on in the bottom, so to preserve these and get some longer life out of them, cleaning them all up, getting rid of any of those corners where sometimes fur will block up the holes and then manure and urine builds up, and that becomes an issue, especially if they sit in it. You know, you can get urine scald. So all of that's getting washed and cleaned up, making sure the bottoms of the cages are opened up again, and then I'll be painting those before they come in. These were actually my very first cages. I've already done this with these cages, and you can see they're looking pretty good. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, these are cheap tractor supply cages. It's what was available and affordable at the time when I started, and I know a lot of people have some bad things to say about them, but reinforcing them, taking care of them, touching them up when they need it. And these are the first cages. They're 4 years old. I expect to get another at least year or two or more out of them with some good care. So, you know, that's it. That's my little talk on bringing rabbits home and some of the steps that you should take. We'll go into more detail in the accompanying article on the website on meetrabbits.org. So if you come on over there, check out that article. All the things that I forgot to mention in the video will be in the article. We can talk some more. You can leave questions and comments either on the website or on this video if there's more information that you want to have about this type of transition and how to handle it. I'll be happy to address those there. So I hope you'll visit us over there and have a happy spring.